You called down the thunder, well, now you got it. So run, you cur. Run! Tell all the other curs the law's coming. You tell them I'm coming, and hell's coming with me, you hear? Hell's coming with me!
Welcome to the Dynasty Defined podcast, a show discussing the most decorated program in the history of sports, the Oklahoma State Cowboys wrestling program. I'm your host, Lee Cothran, joined by our co-host, Daton Fix, and the one and only Nick Piccinnini today as well. So thank y'all for joining. Really glad to have you on.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, thanks for coming on, Nick.
Yeah, let's go.
So, of course, we have the Iowa duel to talk about. Recap from Oklahoma State's loss on Sunday evening, which there's a lot to talk about there. There's a lot of things that we want to make sure we get to. But the reason we're having Nick on is really to talk about that recent, just legendary moment that he had in Gallagher against the Hawkeyes in just 2020, and he pins Spencer Lee in just a really dramatic fashion, blows the roof off the place. And we really just wanted to, get your perspective on that duel. You had a lot of great moments in the rivalry over the years that you were wrestling for Oklahoma State, with your chippiness with, now Oklahoma State coach Thomas Gilman, with, that big win over Spencer Lee, with just a lot of you kind of an icon in the rivalry, really. So wanted to get your perspective on the duel and chat through your preparation going into it, what those things mean to you and all that fun stuff. And was hoping to do it after a win, but hey, after we prepare for the best, right? So sure. It's definitely excited to hear more about all that.
Yeah, no, for sure. So I guess starting off with the duel in 2019, man, first off, that team was special. It was a very special team. I'm pretty sure for other guys on the team, but especially for me, I was on one other team like that in 2017, my freshman year. And that team in 2019 was very, very similar, just loaded from top to bottom. Team bonding was at an all-time high. Just everything was just flowing into motion. Obviously, we got a new guy at 133 that year, Daton Fix, and that dude definitely fit into my success, right? People always say, iron sharpens iron, and that's exactly what it was. Although the kid was, a redshirt freshman, he's the one who set the standard, right? Everyone always wanted to be like Daton, even me and myself. I seen him. I got inspired by him. He's a young kid coming on the scene, and we just sharpen each other all year, just picking each other's brains and talking. So by the time Iowa came around, is obviously the last duel of the year. We're getting sharp and we're rolling into the postseason. Man, I think we were just all on the same page at that point. We're just all preparing. We were all just kind of hitting the right marks. When the Iowa duel comes around, it's your mindset changes. You basically go into like fight mode. Like, these dudes are coming in here. They're coming into our hometown. They're trying to take what we got, right? So I knew I had a big feat ahead of me. Our team knew we had a big feat ahead of us. Anytime Iowa comes in, we're competitive. And man, we just prepared hard. We prepared hard. I game planned. We game planned the Craig way, and I scouted him. I wasn't a big during my college career. I never really scouted guys. I never really looked at dudes and like nitpicked them and picked them apart. But Spencer was Obviously, he was a different kind of kid. He was a guy that you kind of have to do it for, right? Arguably one of the best 125 pounders ever in college wrestling is Spencer. So, we knew we had to treat this one differently than before, and that's what we did. We nitpicked him. We wrote down the details and what he does, and I've went over a bunch of different things. I'm sure you guys heard me talk about it in the past, but I visualized and I manifested that win. Basically, I remember going to the arena that night before my final weight cut and just visualizing like what I'm gonna do to this dude. I remember saying like I'm gonna pin this dude, and everything came into fruition. Yeah, it was a great duel. I started off hot with a pin over Spencer, and what do you know? My homie Dane Fix right off the back to back, has a big win over Austin DeSanto. Threw in that Rune show, made him tap. It was history after that. It was a great it was a great duel. It was a great duel from start to finish.
Definitely. I mean, there were some other great ones in there with Chandler Rogers pinning Mitch Bowman and, Preston Weigel knocking out
Chandler,
Jacob
wow.
Warner.
Yeah,
It was a great duel for sure. Great memory.
yeah,
So, and that's really what we wanted to highlight here was that wrestling really ebbs and flows a lot with talent and with attitudes and things like that. And look, Iowa, they get up for this duel. It's a big
yeah,
deal for them to
for sure.
wrestle Oklahoma State. It's a big rivalry. They don't take it lightly by any means. And
Nah.
I think this year, in the last few years, it's been on paper you're looking at the matchups, and there were a lot of instances where you were saying, well, if Oklahoma State can pull an upset, if Oklahoma State can get things to fall their way, then they got a great chance to win. It's not like they're going to Iowa was never going to really blow out Oklahoma State. And this year was the first year where you really felt, okay, it looks like it's 5-5 on paper. Oklahoma State should win bonus points here.
Mhm.
And that ended up happening. Oklahoma State did win bonus points.
Yeah,
However, Iowa kept pace with bonus points, and then they got the upset at 184. So,
right.
with that, I mean, it's got to be interesting from y'all's perspective now, being on the outside looking at it and saying, okay, well, it's just that's how it breaks sometimes.
Mhm.
That's why you wrestle. Like that's why you don't do
Yeah,
it on paper, and that's probably the mindset going into a lot of these matches that y'all had over the years. And correct me if I'm wrong there.
yeah, no, um, definitely. I mean, Dayton. It's just Dayton will probably say the same thing. Is what's written down on paper is what's written down on paper, right? It's everyone knows that the matches are what make it, obviously, and things happen. It's wrestling. Wrestling is the hardest sport, no doubt, hands down. Right? Things can happen. People have off days. They don't prepare for a match. They cut weight wrong, and it just is what it is. Sometimes you just have an off day. So paper is one thing, and the match is another. I'm sure Dayton can add to that.
Yeah. I think in every duel that I've been a part of, me and my team, we went into the duel thinking, we're going to win this duel. On paper, not on paper, we're going to win the duel, even if we might not be favored in some of these matchups. We feel, we believe that, we can still beat these guys. And obviously, it hasn't happened in the last couple of years, but I think that something about this past duel is we still wrestled really well. There was just a couple instances where we needed to, you know, we needed to win. We needed to win a couple matches, and it just didn't fall that way this time. But uh, I just think it's important. It was good for the team to face a little bit of adversity. It was the first time really that we faced that kind of adversity all year. So I think that they can use it as just some motivation going into the postseason.
Definitely, and that's also got to be a big thing. Thinking about the postseason, being at this point in the year, you're banged up, which was kind of obvious with a couple of OSU guys. Um, but it's true on Iowa's side too, that you just have a couple of mental barriers probably that you're just trying to work through and wrestle your best and then get to Tulsa and then qualify for the big tournament, right? So that's keeping track of those things is really important here for the newer wrestling fans. That this duel's really important. It's great to win, and y'all go into it thinking you're going to do that, but then at the end of the day, hey, um, you really had one thing break bad for OSU in this duel on Sunday, and you're looking ahead to the postseason. Now it's got to forget quick and start getting prepared for Big 12s and nationals. So, if you could both tell me a bit more about that mindset, taking your mindset, getting into preparation mode for postseason. You both had a ton of success there. I was just looking at it, Nick. Your only losses at NCAAs are to like hammers, right? Thomas Gilman, Ethan Izak, Spencer Lee, basically, are the only guys who ever really beat you at nationals. So, it's definitely it speaks to a lot of resilience. And of course, you're both super talented wrestlers, but talent is, maybe half of the thing. At the end of the day, you got to put your mindset right and prepare.
For sure. Yeah, no. And Daton knows this better than anybody. The dude probably has more wins than a lot of people, a lot of professional athletes, across all sports. You gotta believe that you're gonna win. And like they said before, on paper, off paper, like you gotta believe in yourself. You gotta believe in the work, and you back that up. You back your belief up by working hard, by pushing yourself, by breaking yourself every day. And it's only you who actually knows if you've pushed yourself to that limit. It's that little voice in your head that you can only talk to because no one else is inside of there. And that's when great things happen. That's how I felt in my career. Is when all the boxes were checked and you can just let it fly, you can just let it go. And obviously there comes technique and skill, but as far as being a believer and being 100%, it starts with just believing you can win and knowing that you should win, right? Not that, oh, I might win, but no, you no one deserves to win, but you almost have to have that mindset. Like, I deserve to win. Why should this guy beat me? Like, I bust my butt every day. I put in the work. That's just my mindset that I still compete with and did compete with in wrestling. I'm sure. I don't know, Dane. I'd like to hear what you have to say. You got a great competitive mind.
Yeah, belief is a huge part of it. If you don't believe you can win, you're not going to win very very many matches. And just when you have that kind of belief where you've put in the work and everything's you've done up to that point, there's nothing else you can do. It gives you the ability to go out there and compete at your best. And I just think from the college wrestling aspect of it, it's such a long season. You get towards the end of the season, and there's probably half, maybe even a little bit more than half of those guys you're going to wrestle at nationals where they're just ready for the season to be over. And it's just important to have that positive mindset where, yeah, we might be a little bit dinged up. It's been a long season. We've had 20 plus wins, but I'm still focused on my goals and I'm going to finish the season out strong. And whenever if that guy crosses for me, if he's ready to be done, then I'm going to go out there and make sure that that he's going to quit. I'm going to put points on the board, and I'm going to give him one hard mat return. And if he lays his head down, then I know that I'm going to win this match.
Yeah.
Well, let's get into the duel then, guys. I mean, looking at this matchup here between Iowa and Oklahoma State, you started off with a real bang here. Troy Spratley came out and got the major decision over his opponent. I know that Cruz has been wrestling a lot better. We talked about it last week. He's been a real good competitor since moving up to Iowa. But Troy went out and took care of business. Started the duel off the way that you need to, especially with it being as tight as it was. You really needed that extra team point.
Yeah, it goes back to kind of what I said last time we talked. If Troy goes out, if Troy believes that he's going to beat somebody and that he's better than him, then he usually goes out there and controls the match and puts a lot of points on the board. And he had a previous tech fall win over the guy, so he knew that he was better than him. So he went out there and just wrestled like it. I love the way that he was looking to score the whole 7 minutes. I think that he probably should have had the tech. He went to cut him towards the end of the third period, and I thought they broke contact. He definitely turned and faced him. I've definitely seen it called the other way where they give one and then another two, pretty quick. So I thought that he broke enough contact where they should have given him escape and given the Troy the opportunity to get another takedown for the tech. But it's just up to the officials to whatever they call. Usually goes, and then if you're in Iowa, it's going to go that way. So
if you're
it's
in
just
Carver, for sure, you're not going to get the call.
yeah. But Troy wrestled great and was looking how he needs to look heading into the postseason.
Yeah, definitely. And that's exactly what I was thinking. It's a big match. Obviously, everyone wrestles just a little bit tighter. But Troy did exactly what he was supposed to do. Obviously, he was a point away from a tech fall, which is big. But the dude threw up points, put up points on the board. He did as much as he possibly could to help his team, get that edge. And as a 125 pounder, that's what you look for. You look for guys to start out the duel just like that, because the guy behind you is gonna get that momentum going. So if you start out hot, like okay, look guys, like it's time to go. Like I'm gonna rev it up. And Troy did that. And you can tell right now he's climbing. Like he's about to hit another level, I believe. From seeing that he's hitting his mark. And man, this dude's gonna be a problem. I'm so excited. I'm a big fan of Troy Spratley. And man, I'm excited to see what he does at the Big 12s and NCAAs, because he's actually getting better, I believe.
For sure. Well, and so with that, looking at the postseason, Richie Figueroa did defeat Jet Strickenberger in the Arizona State West Virginia duel on Friday night, Saturday, whenever it was. And so that probably means that Spratley's going to be the 2 seed at Big 12s. There's a question about Trevor Anderson from South Dakota, not Trevor Anderson from South Dakota. The kid from South Dakota State might move into that 2 spot, but he hasn't wrestled Tanner Jordan. He hasn't wrestled any of the other top guys at the weight. So regardless, it sounds like Spratley's going to be on the opposite side of the bracket from Figueroa, but it doesn't really, I mean, I saw that face that Nick just made. It doesn't really matter. But just looking at it from a fan perspective, which is what we do, right? It's got to be nice to be on that opposite end. Spratley has the head-to-head right now, but you'd rather that be the finals than the semis, right? So good stuff there though from Troy, and yeah, it would have been nice to get that extra point, but hey, major is a major, and he definitely tried to set the tone. We didn't talk about this last week. I saw it out there that this was a possibility, that they wouldn't send out Reese Whitcraft at 133 because of winning percentage. Basically, he's got the RPI in the amount of matches to get an allocation for the Big 12 at 133 pounds. However, his winning percentage is right on the edge, and a loss would have knocked him under that threshold. So they decided to save that for him and send out Rin Sakamoto in his place. Sakamoto, true freshman from Japan. He's a top flight prospect in freestyle, right? He won a senior level tournament in Japan a couple of years ago. He represented their U20 team a couple of years ago at 61 kilos. But he is definitely a bit green on the folk side of things. In spite of being in Stillwater for about a year now, but he's uh, definitely showed a little bit of what makes him a pretty exciting wrestler. And I guess I need to also highlight like Japan is stacked from at 57, 61, 65 kilos. I mean, they are. You saw it at the Olympics this year. You saw it at World Championships this year. You saw it last night with Ono taking on Spencer Lee. Japan legit really good. So if Sakamoto's a guy who's uh, competing for spots on those teams in Japan, then you've got a real one there and in freestyle. So if he can translate those skills over, then that's going to be really big for Oklahoma State. However, he was wrestling a guy who's very experienced, obviously NCAA finalist. He's had a really good year this year in Drake Ayala, and you kind of saw that come out a little bit. I think Sakamoto competed, but just got himself into some positions that the Iowa wrestler was able to take advantage of.
Yeah. And, in my opinion, this was the hardest NCAA debut of all time.
Yeah,
The guy has never wrestled a folk style match, not just NCAA. He's never wrestled a folk style match. He's on the road in Carver Hawkeye, sold out, 20,000 people, wrestling the returning national finalists. Doesn't really knows a little bit of English, not very much, and to go out there and compete the way he did, I think that I was super proud of him. He wrestled great. Obviously, he's really good on his feet. Got into just some weird positions where he probably could have scored if he knew a little bit more what he was doing in those positions, but got hit in the slide by, which I was a little disappointed because I worked with him a little bit on Saturday about defending it, but whenever somebody's so good at that kind of move, it's hard to defend if they're really good at it. So he wrestled great. I was surprised he got out from bottom in the first period, which was great to see. Because obviously wrestling freestyle, he's never had to get out from bottom. So it was he did a good job. He got to a tripod and then got to his feet. Got the hands and got out. And didn't give up any near fall points throughout the whole match. So he wrestled great in my opinion. It's probably the hardest environment to wrestle in college wrestling. So, and obviously he got a little tired at the end, but there's a lot going into that. There's a lot of anxiety, a lot of emotions in that match, which I think led to him getting a little bit tired. But he wrestled good.
Yeah, no, piggybacking off of that, man, a lot of respect to the kid. I think he's got a great future. Obviously, folk style is so difficult for people who don't understand. If you have never wrestled folk style, it's just difficult. It's just very difficult. It's not it's there's a reason why the United States is the only country that does it. Because it's just hard. It's difficult. And I think he did a great job against Drake. I mean, dude is definitely you can see that once he starts to understand the folk style wrestling part of it, he's obviously the kid's a problem, right? You can just tell his ability on his feet and just his even his wrestling IQ. You can just tell it's just is higher. He's such a prospect. A lot of respect to the kid. I mean, debut in Carver Hawkeye Arena is tough, and a dude did his best. He definitely did his best, and I haven't met this team yet. I haven't talked to them, but he seems like a great kid, and if you're willing to do that for your team, he seems like a great kid to me, and I'm excited to see what he does, and with guys like Daton, I just. He's going to be surrounded by the best freestyle guys in the world and the best folk style guys in the world. I mean, so what this kid is capable of doing in the upcoming years is going to be incredible. And as far as Reese, I'm happy they you know, I didn't know all the details about it, and would have loved to see him wrestle. But if it's to you know, help him in a postseason, you know, that's good for us. And I'm excited to watch Reese wrestle. He's also one of my favorites, a former teammate of mine, one of my partners. So man, I'm excited for Reese. He's always big time. So I'm excited to see Reese in the next coming weeks.
Well, and it helps the Big 12 as well, because Reese probably is a top three guy in the Big 12 at 133 pounds. Not probably, he definitely is a top three guy in the Big 12s, or in the Big 12. But you want to get, 5, 6 allocations for the conference at that weight.
Makes sense.
So
Yeah.
it's a really good thing that they did it. And yeah, I mean it helps. It's just cushion, right? So like if Reese does drop uh uh the quarterfinal match in at Big 12s, and then maybe drops to fifth, right? Then it's just an automatic qualification. So better that way than putting it to chance, I guess is probably the better thing to do there. And then it helps the case with uh let's say he does get injured in the first round at Big 12s, and then you get the you get a at-large seed. So it was the right call for sure. Some people are going to be critical of it, but whatever. We don't need to listen to those folks. And yeah, on Sakamoto, I mean, you made a great point there, Nick. I mean, being in a room with Daton, Thomas Gilman, uh, Troy Spratley, RBY, I mean,
Yeah.
Caleb Hughes, JJ McCommon. I mean, he's surrounded by talent, rising tides, right? And so if he's going to be looking to make world teams and Olympic teams for Japan, I mean, he's got a mountain in front of him in that Ono kid, but who's like 18. I think they're the same age, maybe. But hey, he's in the best possible environment to go get himself those things. And if he can, get on the podium a few times for Oklahoma State, then that's awesome too. We'll definitely take it. But yeah, funny, kind of the meme of the moment, or the duel came out of that, to holding up this Jimmy Kennedy holding up the sign with the kanji characters on there, saying whatever it was that they said. I think some people ran it through translating. One of them said calm down. But our boy Gift Tannen's been having some fun with that for sure. So 141 pounds, you get up to Tegan Jameson, and he took care of business. Same thing. I mean, he needed to match Drake Ayala matched Troy's major decision. Jameson needed to match that, right? Let's get the edge again, and he went out and he did that. I mean, he took care of business and pushed himself a bit to go get that major too, which was really awesome to see. He wrestled Drake Rhodes, right? And that was our Jace Rhodes. And that was a tough match there for Tegan, and he didn't put anything to chance. Didn't let him score a point. Got the 8-0 shutout for the major decision, and that was really nice to see him go out and execute this well late in the season.
Yeah, he we've seen Tegan get into these matches where he looks like he's almost just satisfied winning by 4 or 5. So it was good to see him push for that bonus point, and I thought he wrestled really well. Wrestled positions, and it was just solid. A lot like the Tegan that we saw early in the season. So that was really good to see.
Yeah, and again, I think this is this is a big match for him. As far as where the duel was, I think when Tegan gets going, he's hard to stop. That's the one thing that I noticed is like if he gets going, like the dude he's a problem. And I can tell. I don't know. I don't know if you wrestle with him, but is this dude strong? He looks like he looks like he's strong as heck, man.
Yeah,
Like I
he's
don't
really,
know why,
really
but I
strong.
feel like he's just super strong. So I feel like he's another dude who like Troy. like I think is hitting his mark, and like he's getting that ball rolling, like he's getting there. That's what I saw from that match. I was happy for him. Yeah, that's I see big things for him.
Yeah, I think, I've heard it described as he has freak strength for sure. And
Real excited.
you see it in his defense. Anybody he gets to him, he puts those hips on your shoulder, and he's stuffing you. It's been pretty incredible to watch him over the past couple of years with that alone, right? And if he's able to find a leverage point on you, then you're in trouble. Um, he does we've talked about it before, but he does need to kind of vary in his offense a little bit, work a little bit more than just that double leg. But end of the day, I mean, he is a problem for pretty much everybody in this weight class. I mean, heck, he had a really close match with Jesse Mendez at CKLV. So I think he's definitely somebody that we're gonna be talking a lot about here. And we've talked about it too. He's a very important data point here for this new staff. He spent that 2 years in Minnesota, and then he uh, came to Oklahoma State and has gotten progressively better in those 3 years. But now you're looking at that's a guy that if you can get him into the top five, that's really saying like, hey, we can do it for this guy in 1 year. If you're a top 20 prospect, come here and we're going to get you on top of this thing. So Tagan's very important for Oklahoma State moving forward. I think he's a guy that, you have confidence he can go out All-American for sure. But beyond that, I mean, he probably could have done that anyway, right? I think we were thinking last year he had a really good shot at it. But yeah, I mean, he's important for the pitch for the coaching staff moving forward.
For sure.
149, 157, you took care of business ultimately. You had really, really tough matchups here for Carter Young and Caleb Fish. And both of them limited the scoring to regular decisions, which again, on paper, kind of that's what you're expecting. Carter just, again, similar problems persist. And we've talked about it a million times. We don't need to harp on it anymore. He needs to figure out how to finish his shots. And then when he's in a position where he's on bottom or hit a little bit of adversity, keep his head up and just keep working, right? And work through those positions that he knows what to do. It's just a matter of confidence, I think, at this point. And then with Caleb Fish, Teamer, we talked about it, if you could keep him close and not let him get in space, then Teamer had some vulnerabilities, especially since he's not 100%. But he was able to keep the match open, and that guy's fast. I mean, there is a speed factor there that I think that you just can't really account for all the time. And both guys, I think, did a good job, though, of keeping their matches close and not letting the moment be too big for them.
Yeah, they both did their job in a way. They both limited bonus points. Carter, I'd like to see him just hold a little bit more ground. He's just going backwards so much in that match that it's really hard to get anything going whenever you're going backwards. It's going to be hard to get to shots, and if you do get to shots or get to the leg, you're not going to be very deep. And then with Caleb, he just kind of got caught flat-footed a couple times, got hit with a couple doubles from space. But I thought, he did a good job coming back in that third period and did a good job of getting his hands on him. And he was in a good position to, maybe, get, a takedown to the back at the end of the match. He had a body lock, which is we've seen a couple times this year. That's one of his better positions. And he usually, once he gets that body lock, they tend to, go to their back. So there'd have been another, 10 seconds left. We know it could have been a different match. But that's what ifs, and what ifs don't win you matches. But I thought he wrestled well in that third period, so it was a positive you could take away from that match.
Yeah. No, yeah, it's gonna be hard to add onto that, but definitely, I think Carter, Carter did his first period, although it went 0-0, he he was staying in the hand fight. He was doing okay in the hand fight. I think, like you said, he just needs to stand a little bit more ground, and like, I mean, especially being an Oklahoma State guy, when you wrestle Iowa guys, you have to kind of know like that's kind of their thing, is so if you're gonna be in the hand fight with them, sorry guys, if you're gonna be in the hand fight, like you have to hold your ground and you kind of have to almost beat them at their own game or use it to uh, you know start doing what you want to do. So definitely, that's the one thing that I've seen that like I was like, okay, Carter, you can hang in the hand fight. You just keep that confidence and like you're saying, just stand ground so you can fire off your shots. And then yeah, I mean, Caleb Fish, I like I said, like you said, he got that body lock at the end. I was like, oh, like he might do it. It was sketchy. I think, and this happened to me when I wrestled Spencer. Ja'Cory, I've grew up watching Ja'Cory. He's a Long Island guy. So and I'm a little bit older than him. I grew up watching him as a young kid. So I've seen Ja'Cory grow from when he was literally a baby to where he's at now. But another thing with Ja'Cory, just like Spencer used to do with me, is you can't let these guys get going so quick. Because that's what would always happen is they would get started so fast in the beginning, first, second period, and then the third period, we're clawing back and we're getting to the shots and we're taking the guys down and then we're getting there and then it's just boom, time's over. So if we can limit the ball get going for them and kind of just hold them off for a little bit, the matches are going to get closer and it's going to start to go the other way. And we saw that at the end of that match when he got to the body lock. He was like, oh man, like this could be, you can go big. But yeah, for sure.
Hey, it does make you feel good if they do hit at NCAA's, right? Because that's got blood round potential. Ja'Cory's a finalist, a couple-time finalist, so I mean he could be sitting there. Heck, it could be a quarterfinals match, right? So I like Fish in a rematch with a need to have a gas tank, which he's proven a few times now this year that he can wrestle 7 minutes and not really have much issue with it. So definitely pretty exciting stuff. Cam and me, I guess at this point, midway through the duel, it's 10-8, and Oklahoma State fans feeling pretty good, right? You've gotten bonus points in your 2 wins, and this has been where the rubber has hit the road for Oklahoma State all season. You were behind against Little Rock and Northern Iowa, and I think Iowa State as well. And this is where OSU was able to go out and really win the duel from 165 up, because that's where you just got 5 guys who are all big time scorers. And in this one, look, I mean, Iowa has that too at the end of the day. And 165 pounds kind of set that tone. Mikey Caliendo, since he transferred from North Dakota State to Iowa, he's been great. And he looked great in this one. I think a lot of it, Cam is obviously dinged up. He was wearing that mask, has some kind of facial injury he's dealing with. And then you had the knee issue as well that popped up. And at the end of the day, I think it was just I think the most refreshing thing you can take from this match was him telling David Taylor, like, get off the mat, I'm going to wrestle, basically. I'm not going to let him get 6 points here. That seemed to be the thing that you take away as Cam's a competitor, and he is going to give it everything in these last events here as an Oklahoma State wrestler.
Yeah, for sure. He he probably just popped his knee. Probably, he just kind of got hyperextended, and it probably scared him more than it actually did damage to it. We've all kind of had that happen where you don't know your knee pops and you're like, man, I don't know what just happened, and it's just unfortunate, how it happened, in the match, first period, early in the match, um, and just kind of takes your head to a different spot. Now you're thinking about, is my knee really okay? You're not really focused on the match anymore. But it was definitely good to see, him being able to finish the match. It didn't look like it wasn't limited him too much. Obviously it probably hurt him a little bit, but um, I thought he did a good job just fighting for his team. It would have been real disappointing just if we had to give up 6 points there. So it was good to see him fight for his team, get up and finish the match.
Yeah, definitely. I agree. I think I don't know. I know Cam maybe a little bit when he was in high school. He took his recruiting trip to Oklahoma State. I had a couple words with him. He's a great kid, but you can tell he's a tough dude. Like I don't feel like he's a guy who shies away from anything. Obviously you could tell he had his the face mask on and the knee, and kind of like what you said, Dayton. Whenever things like that happen, it just depends on where you are. Sometimes you pop your knee and you go into like, okay, now I got to survive instead of perform. So but those are the things in wrestling that those are things that happen, and and it's happened to all of us where, you know, things bad happen and you just got to continue to perform through it. And he didn't give up. Obviously, like you said, the trainers they came out to the mat, they checked him out, and like you said, he said, brushed him off. He got back out there. He competed. He didn't give up the six big team points right there. If he would have, he just kind of knew what he had to do, and I think like he was maybe like a little bit of a shell of himself in that match. So I mean, I hope they get to wrestle again, and wrestling a guy 3 times, it's tough. The fourth time is usually the time that you get it, though. So if they wrestle again, it's that's gonna be. I think it's gonna be a little bit different.
Yeah. Well, hopefully that's a semifinals type of match
Yeah, for
at
sure.
NCAA's, or not semifinals, quarterfinals type of match. Yeah, I mean I guess it could be semis. Either way, that's absolutely a great point there, Nick. On it's hard to beat a guy as many times as some of these guys are going to have to do it. In Caliendo, yeah, I mean he has definitely varied up his offense a lot since getting to Iowa, and this year he's really been uh, on a tear. He's been great. And Amin, though, end of the day, I mean, we know he's got varied attacks, and his defense is second to none. So I think he's got a great choice, and I think that um, uh, I just think, yeah, tough guy. I mean, that's a can't get much better than that. Moving on to 174 pounds, DJ Hammett. Iowa sends out Nelson Brands at 174 pounds. And after the second period here, Brands just kind of seemed to park the bus and like, I'm not going to give up bonus points. Seemed to be the strategy in this one, and which is kind of strange to see from a returning All-American, off of a year of suspension, whatever he was dealing with there, and he comes out and he puts himself in that position where you kind of got broken at a point. You just kind of saw it against Hamity, and at the same time had a job and executed on that. And Hamity a little bit frustrated to not score bonus points here, but picked up a big win over Brands.
Yeah, it was a good win for DJ. He's just so good on his feet. Getting to those low ankle shots. Got it to it a couple times. Got 2 finishes. And then we got that finish in the third period, and he's just left in kind of a weird position. He has a minute 40 left, and then he's like, "Am I going to try to ride this guy out for the major?" Which is needs to do. A minute 40 seconds. That's a long time to hold somebody down. That's and knows that they got to get out for the keep the major, or do I try to cut him loose and give myself more time to get the major? And he decided to try to ride him, and then rode him for about a minute, and then ultimately, Brands hits a little roll and gets out with probably like 35 seconds left, and just hard to go get a takedown on someone like Brands whenever you know that all he has to do is hang on your head and not do much. So I thought DJ wrestled good. I think that they definitely sent Brands out there because they knew that he was probably the guy to send out if they didn't want to give up bonus points.
I kind of think he's going to be the guy for their postseason, quite frankly. So, yeah, that's but that was it. Was he is the king of like 3-2 matches in his career. This is his first year really with the 3-point takedown. So, I haven't seen him too much, but that's kind of his. If you look through his results, that's kind of what they are.
Yeah, I think it was yeah, like his decision was to. I think he was just I don't know what's like what his mindset is, but I feel like he's like that type of guy, like you said, he wrestles 3-2 matches, almost like a Dean Heil almost. The dude will win though, he'll win. That's the vibe I get from him. So, and I think if I remember correctly, there was like only a couple, maybe one shot in the third period after Nelson escaped. But in the first period, when this dude hits on his feet, he's a problem. Low singles, just he got in once, stalemated, right back in, scored. Like that stuff is sweet. So like he's a serious problem in the first period. Um, and obviously we've all been there. It's way easier to talk about it than to do it. But if he can continue to wrestle like he does in the first, in the third, like this dude he's a problem, right? He's a problem. So
I think Hamidy's a legit national title.
yeah,
Guy.
I agree.
I've been going back and watching some Levi Haynes and Keegan O'Toole, and I really think Hamity, if he can, whichever one he hits, and this is for we've got like a month to discuss all this stuff, right? So, but if he hits O'Toole, the problem is going to be um, the chain wrestling, which he's obviously gotten way better at that over the past year. Um, and you've seen it a lot in his matches where a guy will shut off one thing and he'll go straight to the second, third, fourth thing and score points off of it, and it's been really impressive. So that's a big differentiator against O'Toole that he could have. And then against Haynes, it's really going to be just fighting through that defense. Haynes is a guy that scores a lot of points, but he's not as funky as O'Toole is. So both those matchups are fascinating. You got to get there first. I know that's we're putting the cart ahead of the horse a little bit, and I'm sure we'll see O'Toole and Hamity in the Big 12 finals. So he's got an exciting path. I'm really excited to see him hit some of these guys because yeah, he just outside of a couple, Gavin Sachs and a couple other guys, he's been just fantastic this season. Nobody's really come close to him. So stay off bottom, I think, is the other thing for Dean. So yeah, we do unfortunately have to talk about 184 pounds. Dustin Plott. They sent out Angelo Ferrari. We knew this was going to happen. They play games up there with their probables and all that stuff, and they threw out Ferrari, and Ferrari. I mean, he's super talented. Into the day, he was able to get some offense going. Dustin was able to shut it down, but Dustin just was not able to find a shot in this match. I think that was ultimately the problem here. He just couldn't figure out what he was going to do with that drop down to a knee offense that the Ferraris that's how they work, right? And I think that it's just kind of a weird match for Dustin. And in overtime, they got into a scramble. Both of them were really fighting through those positions, and Ferrari just came through with the better positioning and got the takedown for the win.
Yeah, it was it's a great match. They're both two really good guys. Um, and I know there's a lot of people out there that are gonna say or think that Dustin Plott lost the duel for us or something along those lines. But I don't think that's the case at all. You got 10 guys, and it's everybody's job to they got to go do their job if we're gonna win the duel. So it's not just on Dustin Plott. He's been everything that we could have asked him to be, throughout his career. And you know that nobody feels it's hardest on Dustin. He definitely wanted to win this match. He wanted to do it for his team, and he still competed, really well. Angelo, he just wrestles a style that's it doesn't really match up great for Dustin, because Dustin's so offensive and he comes forward so much that he's just going to walk into some shots sometimes. And whenever the official allows the guy to be on a knee, be in a 3-point stance, it's just going to be really hard to penetrate on those guys. We know when their hips are so far back or he's on his knee, it's I think I would have liked to see Dustin just kind of make a point to just stand right there in the middle and kind of make Angelo come to him a little bit rather than just try to go and get a hold of him, because it's just it's your instinct to try to go get a hold of the guy, and unfortunately he just walked into a couple shots. But I think he did a really good job of in the third period he rode out Angelo for the whole period, and that's hard to do. That's really hard to do against someone that even if he's a true freshman, the guy still he's pretty good. He was getting to his feet. He was doing a lot of good things on bottom, but Dustin just decided that he was going to get the ride out, and it was impressive to see.
Yeah, no, 100%. Like, yes, although Dustin might not have won, that was probably one of the most impressive things, because it's like, I don't know if they're going to start Angelo again, but if they do, and if they wrestle again, obviously Angelo gives a different feel than these normal guys. And it's almost like, all right, I felt you one time. Now the second time, now, okay, now I know, you're gonna be on your knee. You're gonna wrestle a little bit different than most guys are gonna wrestle. But the one thing that everyone knows in college wrestling that either makes or breaks champions is top bottom. And if you can ride a dude like that, and you can ride to send it into overtime, I think that's huge. I think, like, although he might not have won this match, I think the next time that they do wrestle, I think that is going to hold a little space in Angelo's head. I think it's a very tough position. It's always talked about when you get into college wrestling, top bottom is probably one of the toughest positions. And if you can do it precisely and be persistent with it, you can break a lot of people. And that's what can put you, in that next tier. And Dustin has that. Although he didn't get the win, I think he knows what he has to fix. And this dude is a champion, man. He's been there. He's been there. So, like Dayton said, no one's gonna be harder on Dustin than Dustin, right? So he knows what he's got to do. And look, you might not have the outcome that you want, but now you have time to go in and prove that in these 4 weeks, I can still get better. And I think that's what Dustin's gonna do. And he's hungry. This ain't gonna put him in the hole. It's gonna catapult him up. So I'm excited. Although it wasn't his night, it's gonna do great things for him.
Yeah. Well, and look, I mean, I hadn't seen, I haven't been online much the past few days, but I hadn't seen much commentary on, like, Dustin lost yeah, that's ridiculous. They pulled an upset, and somebody had to do it here. If it was going to be a clear win that wasn't just going to come down to bonus points, there needed to be an upset, and Iowa got it. Oklahoma State had a few opportunities to get one too, including at 197 pounds, which we'll get to. But look, that's just like I said at the beginning of the episode, the breaks went their way, and that's it happens. It happened last year. Oklahoma State needed to get an upset, right? Like Troy needed to beat Iowa to start that duel off last year, and they did. In 2019, that duel probably goes different if you don't pin Spencer Lee, Nick.
100%.
So I mean that's it. That's a rivalry. Like that's how these things go, and that's what makes duels so much fun. And ultimately, like duels like that one on Sunday in prime time are what is going to make wrestling more popular because you just insert that passion. It's close, blowouts. Nobody wants to watch a freaking 29-6 duel, right? It's just not it's just not fun.
We'll
So
take it though. Hey,
yeah, oh yeah,
we'll
no.
take it. We'll
If
take
OSU
it.
had gone out and done that, right, or like that would have been great. Yeah, we'll take and I love doing.
OSU 29-6 every
Yeah,
time.
but I just
100%.
hey, I think that that's just it's good. It's good for the sport that
For
that
sure.
it breaks that way. And Dustin, yeah, I mean, what we know Dustin Plott is a guy that's going to go perform extremely well. Like I've been saying all year, I don't care who he wins or loses to running up to this NCAA tournament. I I wouldn't put any money against Dustin Plott on Friday night in Philadelphia against Parker Keckheisen. If that's the semifinals match, heck yeah, let's go. Let's see it. And it's going to be hard to beat a guy 6-7 times, right?
Right.
To your point earlier, Nick, and I think that I'm bullish. All right, yeah, I'm bullish on Dustin Plott. He's an ultimate competitor and an ultimate cowboy, and guy has given a lot to Oklahoma State. So I'm really pumped up about him and these next few weeks, watching him finish out a season. Same thing with Luke Server. Yeah, he gave up a major decision, Stephen Buchanan. I underestimated how good or how much better Stephen Buchanan has gotten at Iowa. He's been great in his career. And by all accounts, I mean, I hate to say this about a guy who's a Sooner and a Hawkeye, but by all accounts, the guy's just an amazing dude. They loved him at Wyoming. He did a lot of really good things down in Norman, and I think he's doing a lot of good things in Iowa City, like for community and all that stuff. But yeah, I thought, okay, like Luke's seen him before. If he loses, it'll be like a 4-1 type of deal because he wasn't able to get his scrambles going, and he has a good chance to win. But Buchanan really came out and shut him down. I think some air got taken out of, or some wind got taken out of the sails, maybe with the Plott loss. But at the same time, Buchanan performed really well, and I think that Luke Server still has everything in front of him too. Like I don't think that this loss, which really, second loss on the season, I don't think it hurts him at all. And, I think it's a good motivator for him to say, okay, I can go out and still accomplish the things I need to accomplish to finish out my career.
Yeah, for sure. I'm sure it was hard to go out there, after, watching Plott drop that match. Because, at that point, all the pressure really shifts to Luke. He knows that he's got to win this match to help us win the duel. And he had a really tough task in front of him. He was wrestling number one guy in the country on the road. It's not the easiest environment to wrestle in for sure. So I think that played a lot of factors into the match. I definitely think Luke's better than what he wrestled. I think he kind of probably underestimated how good Stephen Buchanan is on top. He put a really hard ride on him on Luke, and we haven't really seen Luke struggle on bottom this year, really at all. So just something to that he can get back in the room and work on. I think that Luke's still in a great position for the postseason. Just use it as motivation and get back to work.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, just use it, watch it. He needs to go back and watch this match and use it as motivation. And like I said, he's gonna know those points in his head in that match where he could have done a little bit better, put in a little bit more, energy, maybe be a little bit more intense. Um, and like you said, sometimes when you let the moment get the best of you, sometimes it kind of will suppress your performance and kind of make you shell up. Sometimes it'll make you go and he was put in a position, and it is what it is at this point. But I think yeah, Luke just needs to take this match and go rewatch it and see in the moments where, okay, I should have put a little bit more energy in right here, and maybe maybe the outcome would have been the same, but maybe it would have been a little bit tougher, right? I mean, it's just those little moments. If you just make it just a little bit tough in those little moments, you can take something from the guy. So um, I think maybe that's what Luke might need to go do. But all these guys are in great hands. I'm not worried one bit. At all. So I know that these guys they're taken care of. They're coached well. They're everything is lining up in the right direction. So obviously we all want the great performances, but I'm not worried one bit about these guys in the postseason. They're gonna be headhunting. They're gonna be ready to go.
Nick, that reminds me of a story that you and Kyle Kretschmer told once about you showing up to practice when you first got to Stillwater wearing M2 socks. Um, what what
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, so you kind of touched on it there. These guys are in good hands and all that stuff. I mean, you went to camps there, I'm guessing, with David Taylor and them. And what do you mean by
Yeah.
that, though? Can you tell us
Oh.
more about
Okay, well, I mean, Dayton's probably the better guy to talk to about it, but from the outside, I haven't been in the room yet, but you can just tell, like you can just tell when guys are rolling. I'm not in the room, so I can't tell you exact details, but when you have such brain power and knowledge of the sport with Thomas Gilman, Dayton Fix, David Taylor, Jimmy Kennedy, like, and I'm sure I'm missing some guys that I'm not in there, but when you can put those brains all together, it's like there's no telling, there's no telling how they're gonna have this team ready. I just see great things, and that's funny that you say that. Yeah, David. So going back, yeah, I got yelled at by Kyle because I was wearing the M2 socks. I walk into the weight room like my first day at Oklahoma State, and Tyler Caldwell, another great coach, and Tyler and Kyle were lifting, and I walk in with the M2 stocks, and I guess Tyler must have wrestled. I guess Tyler wrestled David the year before or 2 years before, so they weren't happy about it in that sense. But it's funny to look full circle now. Now look where David Taylor is at, and obviously the head coach and doing a great job. But I mean, being a kid from New York on the East Coast. Like I was always like I always watched the guys on the East Coast, and obviously once I caught wind of Oklahoma State, John Smith and all those guys, that's obviously where my heart was at. But yeah, you can't ignore that over there. So yeah, I was a David Taylor fan. Yeah.
Okay, that's good. I just got reminded of that story that you told, and I thought I'd call it out there. But that's funny. The other thing with Luke Serber, though, I want to get back to is and we'll have him on this summer. He's comes on the podcast. He's been on it a few times, and he's funny. I don't know if all of you guys are like. I don't think most. I've gotten to know a lot of y'all, but Luke's very like NFL QB about all of his matches. So like, and that's all we do when he comes on is oh yeah, that's when I did this and this, and then this guy did that and that, and I should have done this and this. And you can tell he's a coach's kid because he just is coaching himself like through all this, and he can go back 5 years now and tell you in all of his matches what happened, what he should have done, what he could have done, what he did, all that stuff. So he's got a really interesting perspective. So yeah, I mean he definitely is gonna probably have notes from that match on Sunday, and um, yeah, hopefully we see them hit again. Because if we do, because those guys are both going to be 1 and 5 seeds probably, so it means it's a semifinals type of deal. So yeah, that would be awesome to see them in there. And then White Hendrickson did White Hendrickson things. He went out and teched his opponent. I mean, the guy's just on a different level. And this kid, Ben Keeter, I mean, he's yeah, he's a bit undersized, but he's also like 6'4" and is a world champion or a world silver medalist, right? So like, it's not like he's chump change. It's just that Hendrickson has done this to literally everybody in the weight class except for the top two. And I'm pumped up to see him against at least one of those guys, hopefully both.
Yeah, Wyatt Hendrickson's been unreal all year. He's probably been the most dominant wrestler in the country up to this point, and I don't see anything changing anytime soon. I think he's gonna go to the Big 12 and do the same thing he's been doing, and then I'm just we're itching closer and closer to seeing him have a chance at these top two guys, and I'm just really looking forward to it. And I know that Wyatt's looking forward to it. It's gonna be fun. He's just so fun to watch. He goes out there and he just lets it fly. Doesn't hold anything back, and he's not afraid to try to pin you. If he gets you on your back, he's definitely going for the fall. So it's just he's a lot of fun to watch, and I'm glad he was a Cowboy this year.
Yeah, man, I'm glad that dude's a Cowboy too, because he might be one of the most explosive Cowboys in the past, I don't know, 10, 20 years maybe. And the dude is powerful. I mean, just watching the matches that I watched of him, he's incredible. Like you said, he's been nothing but dominant and just a beast. And you can tell his mindset. I mean, I don't know him personally, but you can just tell he's got a bulletproof mindset. Like I don't think there's gonna be anything that shakes this dude. Not King Kong, not nothing. I think he's that kind of guy that he's gonna take on the world. And I think, man, I like you said, just be prepared because this dude, yeah, he's gonna do it. I believe.
Yeah. Well, I mean, hey, like we've been saying, only focusing on wrestling, and I know he does other things and all that stuff, but I don't think there's anybody having more fun after spending 4 years at the Air Force Academy and now getting to be in Stillwater. And he still has his duties that he's fulfilling, but it's a little bit less intense than it was up there in Colorado Springs. So, hey, I mean, the guys, and it's great that he's going to be in Stillwater through the next quad because he just is um, dynamic personality. I mean, he's incredibly intelligent. To your point, Nick, he's got a great mindset. I don't know how much he is looking for. I feel like he is a very just. This is what I'm doing right now, and I'm going to do this thing that I'm doing the best that I can do it. Whether he's probably folded his laundry like that, you know. So we are very blessed that he's a Cowboy and excited for him to be around. And there's not much better than that kind of guy. So yeah, pumped for that. Pumped up for Big 12s. You guys have been there. We talked about it at the beginning of the episode, but you're 2 weeks out now from Tulsa. Get us prepared for it.
Yeah, Big 12 it was always my favorite tournament to go to, just because it's easy to get to. Just got to hop in a couple of vans, drive down there, and it was basically my hometown, so that's always a plus too. But it's also basically like another home event for OSU, which is always nice. We got a bunch of Cowboy fans that always go down and support us, so it's always a good atmosphere, and it's going to be exciting. We haven't performed how we would have liked the last couple of years, so we're definitely hungry to lift the Big 12 championship trophy again.
Yeah, Big 12 is definitely one of the better tournaments of the year. Obviously, you go up, work out at Sand Springs, and that's awesome because that room gets so dang hot. so you know you're gonna make your weight's gonna just fall off. I mean, like you step onto the mat and your shoe's gonna melt because that room gets so hot. But no, the Big 12s they're fun. They like Danny said, it's like a home duel. It's like another home duel. But Cowboy fans come out. It's stone throw away from your bed, jump in a couple vans, you and your boys and the coaches, and just get down and you rep the squad and you defend the hometown. So yeah, Big 12 is a lot of fun, and it's just it literally just prepares you for battle for the next week at NCAAs. It's the test. It's the test before the test. So definitely gets you ready and prepares you.
Awesome. Well, Nick, really appreciate you coming on. Appreciate your insight on the duel and uh, uh, the Cowboys and everything. Anything you want to leave Oklahoma State fans with before we sign off?
125 through heavyweight national champs. My Oklahoma State Cowboys. My prediction.
Yeah, wonderful. All
Yep.
10 folks, all 10 Cowboys. I've picked that every year since I started the podcast. I even think when I was doing the pistols firing thing, um, when you were a freshman, sophomore,
Nice.
junior, even, it was I think I was doing that, and a lot of people don't like that. But you know
Yeah.
what? Hey, who cares? Those people can kick rocks.
Yeah.
So awesome stuff, man. Well, thank you so much. And in the meantime, hey, share this podcast with another Oklahoma State fan that may be getting into wrestling, maybe trying to learn about the sport. This is where you're going to get the technique breakdowns and things like that you need to impress your friends, right? So and then make sure to subscribe, like all that fun stuff. So most importantly, though, share it with somebody and build a new wrestling fan. Anything else y'all want to add before we head out?
I got nothing.
Perfect.
Congrats, Cowboy RTC?
Oh yeah,
Oh
Zahid
yeah,
Valencia.
Zahid Valencia. Of course, he goes out and defeats Trent Hidlay at that Flow Wrestling Night event that they held in Iowa City last night. Not Iowa City, Coralville last night, and it was a really an awesome event. Really solid wrestling match for Zahid to go out and pick up that big win. Really, that's the top two guys at 86 kilos probably moving forward. So. Good shot we see those two in Final X for the world team this year.
Yep, it was a good match for Zahid. He took care of business. He's been a great guy to have in the room, especially those upper weights. He's somebody that is, he's one of the best guys in the world for sure. So anytime you can have somebody like that in the room working with the guys, it's going to be a benefit.
Man,
You know what I feel? After watching that, I feel like Zahid might fight you. That's the vibe I get from Zahid. Like he's gonna be in there. Like he's like, come on, like doing all this. Like come bring it. Like that's the vibe I get from Zahid, man. I'm just pumped for this whole RTC crew. I mean, just the squad you guys are building over there is just incredible. And like it's a force. It's a force, man. And you guys are doing some real stuff. I mean, just starting with you, Daton. I mean, like, dang, you guys. I'm so excited to watch from the outside and be your guys' fans. This is I've been a fan, but now, man, I'm a super fan of the whole squad, and happy to call myself a cowboy and be riding with you guys. So
amazing. Yeah, Zahid, you definitely get that. I mean, you saw it in the NCAA finals matches that he had with Mark Hall, where Mark may have gotten an upper hand on him in the regular season or before, but Zahid always responded with just like, hey, you aren't beating me this time. You're not beating me on this stage, and kept a guy who is one of the best prep level wrestlers in the history of NCAA wrestling in Mark Hall from winning multiple national championships. What did he win? One? right? I don't think a lot of people had that on their bingo card. So yeah, that was really cool, and it's good. I keep remember. I mean, I think it's because I talk to you every week, Dayton. I keep remembering how good the coaching staff is and the training partners are for the room at the lower weights. But then I remember, oh yeah, you've also got Zahid Valencia, Tyler Caldwell, Dayton Taylor, or I'm sorry, David Taylor. And then you're gonna have Dustin Plott, you're gonna have Wyatt Hendrickson, you're gonna have Cody Merrill is a top level dude.
Yep.
Keyshawn Ross in a couple of years, I mean, my dude, top to bottom. I mean, if we can get a D Lockett, right, if you can get some of those middleweights filled out, this is going to be no better environment, really.
Yeah. Shout out to all the guys committed to Oklahoma State. Keep going. Keep running it up.
Love it. Well, thank you guys. We went 15 minutes over, but I think that'll be okay. Everyone will live. But in the meantime, go Pokes, and thanks for listening.